Hello, welcome to the Oliver Miller Homestead, where we are experiencing the Scottish holiday of Hogmanay. Hogmanay was a celebration that they used at the very end of the year. It was their New Year's Eve and New Year's Day celebration. When the Puritanical Presbyterians took over in Scotland, they didn't like the idea of celebrating Christmas as a holiday, because obviously that's what the Catholics did. And if you know about the religious wars that the English people had, you'll understand why that was. This is the end of our year also, and we're ready for the beginning of our new year, and so we felt it was appropriate to do Hogmanay here. The word Hogmanay means gift giving, and one of the things that they would have done on New Year's Eve was to go around and sing, greet their neighbors, have revelry, perhaps a little drinking, gift giving, and various things like that. Even today in Scotland, the Festival of Hogmanay is very important and very popular. In fact, in Edinburgh and Glasgow, you have to buy tickets to the festivities. So we are using our Scottish country dancers to illustrate that. We have our members of the strings in the barn, and we're going to be giving a little explanation at the end of our day of exactly what they would have been doing to make sure that they got rid of the evil spirits and got the new year started off on the right foot. We are here in the kitchen of our stone house where our loyal crew has been busy preparing the haggis. The haggis is a very traditional Scots dish that Miss Judy will tell you about.
Haggis is actually a Scottish sausage. A lot of people back then ate every part of the animal simply because they needed to. Our haggis is made of the organs of a lamb, liver, heart, tongue, and it's mixed. It's cooked first, ground, mixed with onions and oats to give it a little more substantial feel to it. And then we put in things. We put in some spices, and then we take a sheep's stomach, which has been thoroughly cleaned, and we put it. We invert it so that the smooth outside is the cooking vessel, and we put the haggis meat inside and sew it closed, and then we boil it for a couple of hours to finish the dish we call haggis. And it is basically, as I said, it's a Scottish sausage.
So how long does it take for it to cook?
It should cook about 3 hours.
And at the end of our day here, we will have a parade of the haggis that will be led by a bagpiper and a very appropriate Scottish sword, and they will bring the haggis in. One of our members will do the ode to the haggis, and then we will bring it back in the house and prepare it for distribution. The Scottish people were very fond of playing games and taking care of business that way, and so many of the games that they did, they would do outdoors, and they were games of strength and agility. They would throw the caber, they would use a pitchfork to throw a bale of hay. They also would throw stones and see how far they could get those to go. So we try to reenact exactly what the Scots would have thought was important on our Hogmanay celebration. One of the other traditions that we're following today are some of the outdoor games that they would have used to determine who the very fit among the men are. He's throwing a caber. Ooh, nicely done. Give him a hand. All right. Is there anything else that we could do, Mr. Dale?
Go ahead and give a demonstration on throwing the hay bale.
You'll notice that they're using what they would have had available to them since they're farmers. They have a pitchfork and a bale of hay. He's going to demonstrate how far he can pitch the bale of hay.
Actually, I'm trying to get it high into the
Oh, he wants it high. Height is the deal here. Oh, very good, very good. All right, so another one of the activities that we have available for our children today is to allow them to play several games that were appropriate and were popular during the 18th century. So I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. Do you know the names of these games that they're playing?
This game is called Shut the Box. And what you do is you throw the die, and okay, throw it. You have a 1 and a 5. So you can either, oh, I'm sorry, you're in the middle of this. Okay. That's a 6. So you don't have it. So if we start over, okay, throw it. Okay, you have a 2 and a 6. So you can do, okay, so you do an 8. Okay, throw it again. You keep flipping.
And what's this game here, Bob?
This is the same version of this, only in a different format.
And we have pick-up sticks.
Pick up sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is for spelling. You throw these on the floor or anywhere you want. And then you try to make words, which I can't. Mitt. No, I can't even do that.
I made smart.
Dim.
Did you? Very
Yeah,
good.
I made smart.
All right. Do you find these fun to do?
Yes.
Very good. Okay.
The one over here. Shut up. They still can see each other.
No.
Let us know.
All right, almost there, Sam.
Another tradition of the Scottish New Year of Hogmanay would have been to give a toast to the new year. Now, we don't know exactly what they might have used, but we use cider, right? So these young ladies are passing around little dishes of cider to give to our guests. And then at the end of our day, when we have our presentation of the various events for Hogmanay, we will sing Auld Lang Syne, and one of our members will give a toast to the New Year's, and we will all drink our cider. All right, I'm here with Jim Chatham, who with his wife Beth is in charge of this day today. We're in front of the log house, which is a reproduction of the first home that the Millers might have lived in. We're using the log house today to house members of the Bethel Park Strings. They've been good friends of ours and have come for years to play for us some traditional Christmas songs. So let's go in and see what they're doing now. Hi, Janet. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank
We're
you.
happy to have your group, the Pittsburgh Scottish Country Dancers, with us
Yes,
again.
yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your group?
Certainly.
We've been dancing in Pittsburgh for at least, I'd say, almost 60 years with different teachers. And the lovely thing about Scottish country dancing is that it's done all over the world. So there are at least 30,000 dancers all over Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada particularly because of the Scottish influence. And you all dance the same dances to the same music because it's standardized. We do reels and jigs, and the slow ones are strathspeys. And it's the forerunner really of square dancing. You don't have to come with a partner. You dance with everybody else in the group. So it's ideal for singles as well as for couples. And so we have quick time and slow time dances, and it's all done to the beautiful Scottish music.
And And how long have you been affiliated with the Oliver Miller Homestead?
We've been dancing here, I'd say, for almost 30 years. I started with dancing here in the log house in the early 90s, and we've been invited back every year. So we're very happy to participate every year in the Hogmanay.
And how many members do you have, and how often do you practice?
We meet twice a week on Saturday and Monday nights up at Grace Church in Mount Washington. We have about 40 regular members, but a lot of members who don't necessarily dance, but who provide a lot of the support for us, bringing the cookies or whatever it may be.
Well, very good. We're happy to have you, as always, and we hope you'll stay for our Hogmanay celebration and our tea.
We will.
And would you like to perform for our group?
Yes, certainly.
Story to share with you. It's a true story. It relates to Hogmanay traditions. So it was the day before Hogmanay, and Fiona McGrath was very sad because she had been really looking forward to spending the Hogmanay holiday with her grandparents. But this time her grandparents, unfortunately, her grandmother Eileen was in the hospital. She had taken a fall and she had broken a hip. And it was so sad because her grandfather Agnes, he was also in the hospital, and some say it was probably because he was so stressed out and probably so worried about grandmother Eileen that he ended up in the hospital. So after a long hospital stay, they were sent to a rehabilitation center in the countryside near their home. But this holiday time, Fiona was really sad. She laid on her bed, and the tears started to form and come down and roll down her cheeks. And then all of a sudden she thought, wait a second, I know what I can do. I can bring Hogmanay to my grandparents. I know I can make this work. So she asked her mom and dad, she said, please, could you help me? We still have a full day to make all the Hogmanay treats, the haggis, the steak ale pie, the special cakes, all the treats. We still have time. So her parents agreed. And she also asked her mother, can you please help me do one special thing? Can you help me make the very special shortbread that grandmother used to give to me, only to me, on Hogmanay? So Fiona thought, can I pull this off? Can I do it just like my grandmother and my grandfather used to do? Because my grandfather, she said, he was so serious about all those traditions he had in Scotland and all of his relatives before him. So she sat down at her desk and she made a list and she started thinking all the traditions that they went through. Well, first there was the cleaning of the house. And Grandmother Eileen was a fiend for having the house all tidied up before New Year's, Hogmanay. So she would clean the house out. She would make sure all the cobwebs were gone. There was fresh linens on the beds. She took all the dirty ashes out of the fireplace. All the dusting was done. All the old food was thrown out. All the windows were clean. All the carpets were shook, and they were very nice and clean. There was one more tradition that she did. She took a piece of a juniper tree, a little branch, and she stuck it into the fire just so the juniper branch would just smolder just a little bit. And Grandmother Eileen used to go from room to room to room with the juniper branch with that beautiful scent going through the house because she believed if you did that, you would drive all the bad luck away, all the bad spirits away, all the naughty elves away. Of course, only the good elves would be left and would hang around. So that was one of the items on the list to make sure we were keeping the old ways of the old Hogmanay traditions in Scotland. One of the other traditions was at midnight, Grandfather used to take his collection of bells and he would pass them around to Grandmother and to Fiona, and they would ring the bells. They were not the big church bells that they had in Scotland, but those sweet, special old bells did remind everyone of the old ways Hogmanay was celebrated in Scotland, because in the villages at midnight, the big church bells would ring and ring and ring with so much joy and so much happiness. And even the men in the ships in the harbor would sound their horns, and they would sound them all night long. For they too believed that they were bringing in the good year by sounding the horns, by driving the old year out, the bad spirits out, and bringing in all the new, good possibilities, new beginnings. Then there was the special shortbread. This special shortbread was not your ordinary Scottish shortbread. This shortbread was special because Grandmother Eileen said back in her day, and even in her grandmother's day, most of the time sugar and spices, currants and raisins were rationed. They didn't have much money. So cookies and cakes were considered very special. You were sort of going over your budget. So Hogmanay was a time then when you spent a little bit more money. You made the fancier dishes during the year. And Grandmother Eileen had one special tradition that she was carrying through that her grandmother used to do. She didn't even have cookie cutters. But what she did was she had very special shortbread. She rolled it out and she cut it into shapes of stars and moons and pretty animals. And she placed them in a special tin. And shortly after midnight, Fiona got to open that tin. And there was the special shortbread. And before midnight occurred, Grandpa always kept up his very, very special tradition. And some people don't even know about this one. Back then, there were groups of boys who would leave early in the evening. Sometimes they were called Galoshians or Galoshin, or they were called the Hogmanay Boys or Geysers. They were usually a team of boys who could be from 5, 6 to teenagers, who would be dressed in sort of whimsical costumes that you can make from things from your house. They didn't have much money. They didn't have fancy costumes. Perhaps they took crepe paper from a birthday party, they wrapped it around their head, they made a silly skirt. They took old hats, they took tattered clothes and sheets, and they ripped them up and they pinned them on their jackets. And they would go out and they would perform these plays from house to house to house to house. And what they would do is they would keep a pillowcase wrapped around them where they could open the pillowcase and everyone inside could give them Hogmanay treats. They would go perform their play. You knock on the door. After your play, you made sure you got a round of applause. And then the people in the house would give cakes and cookies and candy and fudge. And then they would go on to the next house. And some of the boys really were into this tradition where they would actually take full sheets, the sheet right off of your bed, tie it to the front of them, and make sort of a huge apron where they can put in lots of food. So they go home, turn out all the food, and everybody would take their share of having a little bit of the Hogmanay treats. So this year, Fiona thought, what are we going to do? Grandpa would act out all the parts. He would ring the bells. Grandma and I would clean the house. She'd run through the house with the juniper tree, smoldering, making it smell so beautiful, getting rid of all the bad spirits, the naughty elves. But what am I going to do? They got the meal prepared. They went to the hospital or to the rehab. She said to the nurse, we're here to be with my grandparents. We're here to keep up their celebration. Could you help us out? And the nurses looked at each other and they said, sure, we'll be glad to help you. So that afternoon, they did have their Hogmanay feast. So Grandpa sat up in his bed with Grandma, and they watched this Galatians play unfold in the hospital room. The nurses helped out, and Fiona did her best to make this play come out, and her grandparents were so happy. And it was getting closer and closer to midnight. And when it got to midnight, everyone did their countdown. You ready to do the countdown with me? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Happy Hogmanay! Fiona passed out the bells. She passed out the bells to some of the other people that were in the rehab center. And Grandpa, even though he was so weak, he started to shake the bells. And then Fiona went and she unpacked her little tin. And in that little special tin, that tin that had traveled so far away from Scotland, that had been in the family for years and years and years, she opened that sweet little tin, and there were the shortbread cookies, the special shortbread cookies that she made all by herself, only because she had watched her grandmother year after year after year, and she loved that time with her grandmother, and she knew the importance of keeping those traditions. Her grandmother sat in the bed and she cried, but they weren't just tears of sadness, they were tears of joy. What a beautiful grandchild I have. What a beautiful New Year's Eve. We thought we may not even have this New Year's Eve. This may be the most special New Year's Eve we ever had. Fiona then took the cookie tin, and to all the other people that were in that rehab, she passed out one of the very, very special shortbread cookies that her grandmother taught her to make. And indeed, for everyone in that rehab, for the rest of their lives, they always remembered the Hogmanay Eve that was so wonderful, that was brought to them by just an 8-year-old girl, Fiona.
Fa, your honest, sonsy face, great chieftain of the pudding race. Above them all, you take your place. Paunch, tripe, or therm. Well are you worthy of a grace as long as my arm. The groaning trencher there ye fill. Your hurdy's like a distant hill. Your pin what help to mend a mill in time of need, while through your pores the dews distill like amber bead. His knife, see rustic Daber dight, has cut ye up with ready sleight, trenching your gushing entrails, bright like only a ditch. And then, ach, what a glorious sight! Warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive till take the hindmost. On they drive till their wheels swallowed kites believe. Ha! I bent like drums. Then old Goodman based like the reeve. Me thank it, Holmes. Is there are his French ragout, or olio that went star Saul, or fricassee what made her spew with perfect scorner? Looks down with sneering, scornful view on such a dinner? Poor deal, see him or his trash, as feckless as a withered rash. His spindle shank, a good whiplash. His neve, a net, little tiny one. Through bloody flood or field to dash. Ah, how unfit. But mark the rustic Haggis fed. The trembling earth resounds his tread. Clap in his wally neve a blade. He'll make a whistle, ha! And legs and arms and heads will sned, like taps of thistle. Ye powers will make mankind your care, and dish 'em out their bill of fare. Old Scotland wants nae stinking ware, the chops and loggies. But if ye wish a grateful prayer, give her a haggis.
Another thing that is very typical and very traditional is the singing of Auld Lang Syne, and you will see the lyrics to that on the back of your paper. Auld Lang Syne means for old time's sake, and the song really is a question: should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? And the answer comes no. We'll tip a cup of kindness, dear, for old time's sake.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and always of old Lang Syne? For old Lang Syne, my dear, for old Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old Lang Syne.
Well, we thank you for stopping in to see us. We're always glad to see cable TV come and see us and find out what we're doing today. We thank you for viewing our tape. We love coming here. We have a group of very dedicated volunteers who come and spend our time here. We're open from the 1st of May until the second Sunday in December, and our schedule for next year will be printed on our website, which is olivermillerhomestead.org. If you have any questions, you can send them to our email, which is olivermillerhomestead@gmail.com. Once again, we're happy to have you, and we wish you a happy Hogmanay and a Merry Christmas.
Get up, good wife, and shake your feathers, and do not think that we are beggars, for we are geezers come out to play. You give us our Hogmanay.